So hello everyone. So first I would like to thank the Nanotalk team for inviting me. So my name is Thierry Sucré. I am a PhD student at the Power Systems Lab of ETH Zurich under the supervision of Gabriela Hook. And so in today's talk I would like to talk a bit about our research and especially about digitalization in electric power systems. So what do we mean with digitalization? So you have probably heard about the concept of smart cities, smart homes, and actually we try to bring smartness a bit everywhere. And we also have this concept in Power Grid, where we have the so-called smart grid. And what is a smart grid? It's basically a grid equipped with sensors, and based on sensors, we then try to bring a bit of smartness in this grid. So you can see in this picture the scheme of power systems. So it's traditionally split in three parts: generation, transmission, and distribution and consumption. And basically, so traditionally large power plants, transmission lines, and substations in these power systems have been monitored for multiple decades. But the distribution grid has usually been considered as a black box. So traditionally, the distribution grid has been overdimensioned in order to cope with the traditional load that you can have in distribution grids, and there were no need to put sensors in distribution grids. But nowadays, we have more and more so-called distributed energy resources. So we have rooftop solar panels. We have more and more home batteries, electric heat pumps, electric cars. And so these new types of load change actually the paradigm. And it means that we need to understand what's going on now also in the distribution grid in order to have a better operation and planning of these grids. And for this purpose, we also need to install sensors in distribution grids, and these sensors are called basically smart meters. And so we install smart meters in households, in commercial and industrial buildings, and we try to a bit everywhere in the grid. And this we need, for instance, so one of the things which changes in this in this smart grid is that, for instance, with solar panels, we have more and more production locally, so close to the houses, which means that at some for very sunny days in summer, we can have more production than consumption in some specific neighborhoods, which means that the power flows is going from low voltages to higher voltages, and this is not a way that it is not supported by the grid, by the traditional grid, and we have to make adaptation to this. And another thing are electric cars. So electric cars, when they are used daily, have more or less the same energy consumption as an entire household. Means that if most of the traditional cars are replaced by electric cars, the load will be almost doubled in some areas, and this also causes stress in distribution grids. And therefore, we need to understand what's going on also in distribution grids. And in this talk, I will focus more in distribution grids where we have most of the changes. And so here you can just see a picture of a smart meter. It's basically it's a device that can measure the electricity consumption every 15 minutes, for instance, and sends this information usually once a day to the distribution system operator. So today I would like to, I did a selection of a few topics I'm working with and related to digitalization. So first of all, we have more and more measurements, meaning that we also have to deal with these measurements. It becomes a kind of big data problem. We have to process this data, to visualize this data in a meaningful way, something that we can also do with this smart meter data are short and long-term load forecasting. I will give you more hints in the next slides. We'll also give you an idea how can we model an electric grid with more and more electric vehicles, and what is the impact of these electric vehicles on distribution grids, and finally a few words about data privacy. And all of this is based on data analytics, machine learning techniques. I won't go too much into details, but of course if you have more detailed questions, I will be happy to answer these questions at the end. And always when we work with data, most of the time we have to clean this data, prepare this data, and so we traditionally say that we have this 80-20% split where only 20% of the time we do proper analysis. So the first topic I would like to bring is data visualization. So first I have to mention that I work in collaboration with the system operator of the city of Basel, IWB. So nowadays they have more or less 100,000 smart meters installed in the city. And so it's a lot of data, and first we need to get kind of big picture of what can this data provide as information. So on the left-hand side you can see the energy consumption that is measured in households based on smart meter. We see that it's pretty well spread across the city of Zurich, of Basel. In the middle, you have energy consumption only coming from large loads, so industrial and commercial loads. It's mainly in the city center, shops, and so on. And on the right-hand side, the energy production of solar panels. And like this, before we had just no idea what's going on in the grid, and now we can already have a big picture where energy is more or less consumed and produced in the city. Another topic I would like to bring here is short-term load forecasting. So in order to do a proper operation of the grid, the system operator needs to kind of have an estimate of what's going on in the next hours, in the following day, and so on. And this is possible based on smart meter data. So the idea is that we collect smart meter data. So as I said, data is only sent once a day to the utility provider, meaning that we have the data from yesterday, then we extract some kind of features, we put this into a prediction model. There are different kinds of models, and then we can do a prediction for the load of today or for the load of tomorrow. And the idea here is also that we don't only have smart meter data in distribution grids, but we also have some measurements which are online at a higher aggregation level, meaning at the transformer level, which feeds all the loads in a certain neighborhood. Meaning we can have a smart meter, we can have a real-time measurement at a higher aggregation level. And we can use information to improve the forecast in real time of the single consumers in the load. And this is more or less the result. We can see here on the top figure we have the forecast in red of a single consumer. So the single consumer is in blue, and the forecast in red. And actually we see that it's pretty hard to forecast one single consumer because the load is very volatile. But as soon as we aggregate a few consumers together, it's easier to do the forecast. And this is actually good for the consumer because we can kind of protect his privacy. It's very hard to predict what one single consumer is going to do in the next hours. But the DSO is mainly interested in the small aggregation of consumers, and we see that we can provide some information to the distribution system operator. And on the right-hand side, we just see that the forecast error decreases when we aggregate more and more consumers together. Another thing is long-term forecasting. So the system operator also needs to predict what's going on in the next 10 years, in 30 years, and so on. And the idea here is that we have collected over the last few years some measurements in the distribution grid, and then we can make a model of based on prediction of how many electric cars we will have in 10 years, 30 years, how many solar panels we will have, and based on this model, we can predict what would be the load. What would be the load in 10 years or in 2035, for instance. So the first here you see the development. So you see the profile of the load over one day, going from 10 o'clock to 10 o'clock in the evening. And the first bar is in 2015, the second bar is in 2035. And we see basically that the load decreases a little bit around noon, but we estimate a pretty high increase in the evening. So this was the case for a working day in summer. Let's take now the case for a working day in winter. Can do the same thing, so predict how would be the load in 20 years. And again, we observe more or less a stable load around noon, but a high increase in the evening. And this is basically due to a higher solar production, which enables to lower the total load during during midday. But the high increase in the evening is due to electrical vehicles. Basically, people come home and start charging the vehicles. That means that there will be a high increase in load. On the right-hand side, you can see how the demand evolves. So let's take only the case of a working day in summer at noon, and we see that the load didn't work. Oh, yeah. Sorry? Again, okay. Right. So we see basically that the load in 2015 at noon is more or less around, let's say 18 kilowatt. But when we go forward, so in 20 years, the load will be more shifted. Most of the load will be more around 12 o'clock. This is due to the solar production, which lowers the load, the total load. But if we take the case of a working day, in winter, and in the evening, we see the opposite phenomena, meaning that now the load is more around 35 kilowatt. And when we go forward, we will see that most of the load will be higher and higher because we have more electrical vehicles, and the uncertainty is also higher. So, if you are familiar with the distributions, meaning that we know more or less that the load should be here, but there is the higher variations because we don't know exactly when the vehicles are coming home and so on. Then another thing I have seen during my PhD research is that so we know that electric car will cause trouble in the distribution grids, but basically it's quite hard to predict what's going on in 10-15 years. So the idea is to do kind of sensitivity analysis and to see how the load would change according to different parameters. And one of the parameters, of course, to see the impact of electrical vehicles is the level of penetration. So if you have only 10%, 30%, and more electrical vehicles, of course, it will have different impacts. Another thing to see is the location of electrical vehicles. Basically, there are studies that say that if your neighbor has an electrical vehicle, then you would be also interested in buying an electrical vehicle, and you have this clustering effect, which has a pretty bad impact on the grid because then the high loads are located in a more restricted area of the grid. And another thing that we have to consider is how we can model the charging behavior. So nowadays we don't have many measurements coming directly from electric cars because we don't have many electric cars, but we have a lot of mobility data, meaning that the Federal Institute of Statistics has done many studies and to understand how the people use their car and how they travel and so on. And so the idea is to mix a lot of mobility data that is easily available, that is available, and a few measurements that are still available but that are not sufficient to make a proper study. When we mix this together, we can actually do this sensitivity analysis. And here I just would like to show you one result. So this is just one profile. So this is how a transformer is loaded. And here we simulated a distribution grid with 70% of the households having an electrical vehicle. And what is interesting to see is that so we have 1 year of simulation, and the bar 100% is actually the maximum load that can be the transformer that is allowed for the transformer. And actually all the small peaks are during evenings, meaning that people all start to charge their car, and if we don't do anything, we just let people do whatever they want, then the transformer in this specific area can be loaded up to 3 times more than what it should be. And meaning that we need to find a solution to see if we can have kind of smart charging and so on. And the last topic I would like to mention is data privacy. So I don't know if you are concerned that the electricity provider or anyone could actually see what is your life at home, meaning that via smart meter we know more or less when you are at home, we know more or less what kind of device you use, and this can be an issue for the end consumer. And there are different things that are done to prevent too much intrusion into the life of the end consumer. And one of the things that we don't, so the smart meter data has only a resolution of 15 minutes, meaning that we know only what is the total consumption every 15 minutes. So we are not able to see, for instance, what kind of TV program you are looking and so on, because the resolution is too low. Another thing is that in Switzerland, at least, we have a separate communication system for the smart meter data, and it isn't. So this system is not mixed with another system like internet and so on, meaning that only the distribution system operator is allowed to see this data. But you might still be concerned, don't want the distribution system operator to know what is your life at home. And we are also working at the Power Systems Lab on a solution with a battery, meaning that you have here, so this is the utility provider, which sees what comes out of the smart meter. But one way to kind of hide your consumption at home is to make use of a home battery. And the idea is that a certain system tries to hide the actual consumption and charge, discharge, and charge and discharge battery in order to change the consumption that is seen by the smart meter. And this is just a small example. So in blue you have the actual consumption, and then you have 3 different curves, so meaning 3 different data protection schemes that tries to change or to modify the consumption which is seen by the smart meter. And based on this, you can actually hide. So what the utility provider sees is totally different from your life at home, and this would be a way to hide the privacy, to hide your consumption pattern. All right, so I'm basically done with my talk. So thank you for your attention. And of course, if you have questions on this topic and other topics related to data in power systems, I would be happy to give you an answer.